Hey everybody, welcome to another Electric Van Man review. One that has me a little perplexed because this is the Kia PV5 and it kind of feels that it's setting a new benchmark, which is kind of what I expected. I was really excited to come and see this van. And I'm left with a plethora of questions which the time that I've got is difficult to comprehend. Kind of questions that I almost need you to give me feedback on. So of course you can do that in the comments, you can like and subscribe and do all of that good stuff. But in the meantime, let me take you round the Kia PV5. You would be forgiven for thinking that this is Kia's first foray into the electric van market, but I am reliably informed that they have marketed the electric Bongo around in Korea. But also, interestingly, about 5 years ago, they invested in the company Arrival. They were in fact the company whose investment made that company a unicorn worth £1 billion. So, Kia have had a long understanding of commercial vehicles and of electrification. Let's face it, their cars really are very, very good. So, let's see if they've managed to translate all of that knowledge and experience into this van. But first, as always, we want to know if this is actually practical as a van. Who cares about all of the other stuff? Will it carry stuff? Will it take your stuff where you need to go and do a job for you? Come with me, let's find out. So first of all, the question we've got to ask, is this a big van? Is this a small van? Or is it a medium van or a big small van? Because it isn't clear. When you look at this vehicle in its entirety, it is a sort of medium van. That's how you would describe it. But when we get down to payload and cube and all of this kind of stuff, we suddenly find that actually it falls into the category of a small van. But you've just seen me walk through this van. It has a really low entry level at just 419 millimeters. That is very low to be able to step in. But typically you wouldn't step in to a small van. This is the sort of sector of the Kangoo and the Nissan Townstar, but also the Berlingo and the Partner and vehicles like that. And also the ID Buzz, which for me is the closest that this one comes to. So when we're thinking it, let's think about a small van that's a big van. Twin side load doors are standard on this vehicle, and the width between here and here is 775 millimeters. Now that points to its small vehicle characteristics or category, because typically you would be hoping for around 1 meter here. While we're here though, we should explore the fact that some of these dimensions suggest that it's a bigger van. Watch this. So now we have over 1500 millimeters in terms of interior load height. Now that points more to the medium van sector than the small van sector. But as we'll see in a minute, the aperture at the back sort of suggests that it's not going to be easy to get big things in. The floor layout as well suggests that you have to think slightly differently when you're coming to loading this vehicle. A pallet won't fit in the side doors, but it will fit here and then one long ways, so widthways here and long ways there, because there isn't 1200 millimeters between the arches. So as you can see, we've got this intrusion into the load area. This does allow a Euro pallet to sit lengthways here, and then you would have the one widthways here. But when you're loading it from the back because you can't take it in from the side. So you're going to have to go up a little bit. So height then is restricted, because although you've got 1500mm here inside, this being around, I don't know, maybe 20 centimeters lower sort of restricts it, and then you've got another 20 centimeters up there, so you're probably in a meter square in that space. It certainly means that you can't just load it with a nice sort of square straightforward way. You've got to think about it, but once you've solved it, once you've thought about it once, it should resolve. And while we're here, it's worth noting how much weight you can carry in this vehicle. So 790 kilos with the shorter range battery version. So they have two battery versions, and we'll come on to that, but you lose 100 kilos if you go for the longer range. So that will take you down to 690 kilos. But it's a reasonable amount of weight that you can carry. They would argue class leading. When you compare marketing number with marketing number, not class leading. It's 800 kilos is what they say, but when you get into the nitty gritty and you kind of do actual weight calculations, they do say that they come out on top. It's a competitive weight, but it's definitely a small van weight. So, very big, very small. It's a big, small van. Whilst we're here in the back, we also have vehicle to load capacity. I'm told it's 3.6 kilowatts that you can plug in and use to your heart's content. So that's going to power tools that you are using from the back of the vehicle. So for your tradesman, for an electrician, a plumber, whatever you need, your tools, you can charge them here, you can power them from here. This makes for really good sense, and I think I'm right in saying that that is the most powerful plug on the market. So that's us pretty much finished in the back there. So what cubic capacity does it give us? It actually gives us on the L1H1, which won't be the initial launch model, but it'll give us 4 cubic meters, which will compare to the VW ID Buzz. In this version, which is the L2H1 version, you can get 4.4 cubic meters, and if you go for the H2 version, which is going to be even higher, and we'll come on to that in a minute, it's going to give you 5.4 cubic meters. But 5.4 cubic meters that you won't be able to take into a car park. At the base there, you've got 2,225 millimeters. That will not take your 8x4 boards, but it's still a reasonably sizable capacity. The doors are 50-50 split, and you can open them out to 180 degrees. So that allows you to pull up to a loading bay and get nice and close so you can get all of your goods inside. Whilst we're here at the back, it's worth pointing out that towing is not high on the marketing messages for the Kia PV5, and that's because it's 750 kilos for the larger battery version and just 450 kilos for the smaller battery version. So if towing is on your shopping list, then this is not the van for you. So whilst the doors look nice and square here, don't forget there's quite some intrusion there and there. But it looks the part, it looks nice and square, and actually the load space is nice and square. It's just getting stuff in and out that seems to be a little bit of a challenge. Anyway, we've also got a good reversing camera here as well. I think reversing cameras are so underrated on vans. So important, especially as the charge port is at the front of the van. You're likely to be pulling in and plugging in and then reversing out. Well, of course, in that instance, you really need this. And if you're pulling up to a load area or something like that, this is going to really help. You've also got the added parking sensors as well. And what I do like, which we haven't really touched on yet, is this dark grey, solid looking bumper, and in all of the cases they are just there to be industrial and to bump up to things. No paint scrapes here. And on another point, from a practicality point of view and safety point of view, the fact that this light cluster is nicely lifted out of the way from those rear shunts, that's really good news. Kind of looks funky too. And with that in mind, we've got 3 different sections of all of these areas, which are the sort of highly knocked about bits. This means if you're running these kinds of vehicles, whether you're a big fleet or a small fleet, you're going to be able to replace these quite nice and easily and keep the vehicles looking smart. It's worth noting that the Kia PV5 is a front-wheel drive vehicle, but even with that, still has an excellent turning circle of 10.8 metres. Not the best on the market, but certainly great for those urban environments. So is the Kia PV5 doing a job for you? In practical terms, has it got enough space? Will it carry enough weight? Will it tow what you want it to tow? Will it go where you want it to go? It's 1923 millimetres high, and that includes a shark fin that communicates and sends messages for their sat-nav and all of that good stuff. They're trying to lose that and get it below 1900 mil. That might be important for you. The wing mirrors, yeah, you can have electrically folding or manual folding. There's 2 different spec levels, but these all seem to be practical and doing a job. Aesthetically, this vehicle looks really well. I like the DRLs, the professionals call them. Daytime running lights. And these are the upgraded headlights. If you have the standard model, then you'll have an indicator lens in here. If you have the upgraded model, and this is it, you would get the indicators sort of alternating here. So it's going to look impressive. I quite like this. It's a crossover from their cars, and it's something I quite like from their car face, if you like. It's instantly recognizable to me as Kia. So by now you've decided whether or not that this vehicle will do a practical job for you. So let's consider its electric credentials. And I always come to the charge port to do that. I'm not really sure why. I think that's probably the key recognizable difference about how we get fuel in. So you've got AC and DC charging. So what that means is it's standard sort of slow charging all the way up to quite rapid charging. And rapid charging that will get you from 10 to 80% in under 30 minutes. The official capacity of this vehicle is 150 kilowatts. In the AC version, you can charge at 11 kilowatts. So it's reasonably quick using the sort of higher speed of 3-phase electricity. You've got 2 battery sizes, which will of course dictate how long it takes for you to get that energy into the vehicle. On 11 kilowatt AC, the first battery, the smaller battery, which is at around 51 kilowatt hours, will charge in about 5 hours. And then the bigger battery at 71 will charge in around 6.5 hours or so on the 11 kilowatts. From the DC charging point of view, it will charge at up to 150 kilowatts, but really focus on that 10 to 80% in 30 minutes. Which brings me to the first of my real conundrums with regard to this vehicle. I was really expecting 800 volt architecture. What does that mean? That means that this vehicle could utilize the technology that's in the cars for really high speed charging. So to really move it into that sort of just under 30 minutes to just under 20 minutes or even 15 minutes for some significant amount of power to get in this vehicle. I know that that's important to some fleets out there, and I was really excited, hoping that that would be something that would really make a difference. So that's my first real conundrum. I mean, aside from the space in the back and how it's configured, it's not a big van and it's not a small van. It's sort of in between, and there's various different options. The payload doesn't take me to the medium van. So there's a few challenges along the way. But let's get in it and see, does it make a difference to get behind the wheel and feel all of those boxes getting ticked? So before jumping in, let me just talk you through the side door. There's plenty of space there for water bottles, cans of Coke, whatever you might want to slide in there, and bits and pieces for the paperwork and so on. The plastics are not standard, worth knowing that this is a pre-production model. But let's get in. So first things first, I'm slightly surprised that this kind of 1980s window that sort of comes up above the door line. But hey, This is a big window space, so first things first, you've got a lot of visibility. There's the little quarter panel at the front, a reasonably wide windscreen, but the the bits at the front are a little bit wide, possibly, maybe creating some blind spots. I don't know. We'd have to get it out on the road to really find that out. But I also noticed that there's an armrest here, very nicely placed, right beside the seat, and I've got an armrest on the other side. So from a driver point of view, I'm immediately feeling at home and nice and comfortable. I've got a nicely laid out cabin area with all that I would expect. The gear or drive selection to the right hand side, and the usual kind of stalks that you would use to kind of use windscreen wipers and lighting and all of those kinds of things. So all of that is nice and common and simple. I like it. So the steering wheel has all the controls that you would expect to find on it, and especially cruise control. And of course, it's my favorite kind of cruise control, adaptive. So it measures the distance between you and the vehicle in front and keeps you at a safe distance. It's great. A 7.5-inch screen up front, giving my speed and range and all of those kinds of things. And then I've got a 12-inch display screen infotainment system that will give me all of the things that I'm used to expecting from these kinds of vehicles. One thing that I wasn't quite enamored with is that I've got to pay extra for the upgrade to get my heated seats and my heated steering wheel, and there's a couple of other options there that will be in that package. There are plenty of cubby holes and areas where I can put paperwork and store that. I can connect my phone to the display. I can also put it as a fixed stand just here in the front. There's a nice big bin down here in the center console, and also there are power options with USB-C connectors here. Cup holders, plenty of those, more than enough. And nice handles at the front on both sides as well. Not forgetting a really decent glove box. So is it a good van to be in? I think so, but really driving it will be the thing that puts it all to the test. So in addition, we get a single seat from launch. Later, you'll get a twin seat option. It will be coming not in the pleather that you see here, but more a cloth effect. I kind of like this pleather effect. Easily wiped clean, it's robust and industrial, but I'm sure the cloth is going to do a great job. So by now, you are probably thinking, what about that amazing Kia warranty? What about the service intervals? Maybe you're thinking this could be my first electric van, or maybe it's going to be one of thousands on your fleet. Either way, you can be reassured that this vehicle is coming with 7 years of warranty. 7 years, 100,000 miles. That is really good news, because what I'm discovering is that people are using the electric vehicles longer. They're trying to do that at the moment to get the price down. But now, with not quite cost parity with diesel vans on the market, but very, very close, this is suddenly getting an exciting proposition. And with service intervals of 2 years or maybe 20, maybe 25,000 miles, that needs to be nailed down. But it's going to be 2 years. So you're not going to be off the road very much. And if you are, the likelihood is it's covered under warranty. That is blooming great news. So on my arrival here at a secret location, I was handed lots of paper. Cargo van, crew van, chassis cab, passenger. We don't need that. Anyway, so couple of key facts that I think are worth knowing. Really important to know the price of this. A price that may surprise you, albeit it is a small van, because that's the reality. It's a small van, not a medium van, so it's not competing with the likes of the Vivaro or the Pro-Ace or Custom, that sort of vehicle. It's not competing against those. It's competing really against the Stellantis product of, Berlingo and Combo and all of those kind of vehicles, and the Kangoo and the Townstar and the Citan. But Price-wise, this is very, very competitive. So it is coming out with a post-plug-in van grant, or PIVG, as they like to say, grant of £5,000. So it's a gross vehicle weight of 2,650, which means it dives into that category. Gives you £5,000 off the list price, and the list price is likely to be less than £30,000. It's yet to be confirmed, but it will be confirmed by the time you're watching this. So maybe I'll put in the comments on the day that this is released. So it should be under £30,000 and therefore under £25,000 after the grant. And the standard battery, the shorter range one, is going to be even lower than that. So that is pretty good news, I think. Also, key facts that we didn't talk about earlier were the range of this vehicle. So on the larger battery version, the 71 kilowatt hour version, is 247 miles. Now, having driven their products for some time in other guises, I know that they are pretty good at achieving somewhat close to what they call the WLTP figures. So I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that they'll be efficient. The 51 kilowatt hour battery is claimed at 181, which falls in alongside of all the other vehicles at that size of battery. The fact that they've got a crew cab option is a good news story. So you're going to have 3 seats behind the seats in front, but also you're going to have that as a movable bulkhead, giving you from 2.4 cubic meters with the seats in to 3.7 cubic meters without the seats. So rolling those forward and kind of using that movable bulkhead. So that's kind of cool. They're also going to bring a chassis cab version out, and I'm struggling with the chassis cab version. I have seen a chassis cab on this size of vehicle. I'm not seeing too many use cases for it yet, but the market is changing. I can think of another vehicle of a similar ilk that is coming out with more payload, to be fair, because I think even though it will have 900 kilos payload, it is going to be difficult to create something that is going to be impactful at this weight, I think. But prove me wrong. Tell me what you would do in the comments. So, I've only had a couple of minutes with this vehicle. There is a very long list of all of the different spec and options that are on this vehicle. So, I'm actually going to cheat. I'm going to take a photograph of this, and here it is. So, pause now, and then you can see all the spec. But a couple of highlights, I think, are, all of the software updates will be done over the air. It's going to have steel wheels, not the alloy wheels that you've seen on this one. And there won't be an alloy wheel option, very sensibly, in my humble opinion. As we said, it's got cloth upholstery, it's got air conditioning, it's got Apple CarPlay, it's got all of those great things. Lots of movements in terms of the seat, reach and rake for the steering wheel, LED lights, all of those good things. But that upgrade option, which is around about £1,000, maybe something like that, includes vehicle to load, that plug that we talked about, heated seats and heated steering wheel. Why they didn't put that on the base version, I don't know, but there we go. Wireless phone charger, yeah, that's helpful, but there is, as you've seen, the USB-C chargers, blind spot collision avoidance, safe exit warning, and rear cross traffic collision avoidance. There you go. So there's a lot going on. There are different paint options, so you don't have to just have the standard white. You can have premium paint options. As we talked about, the headlights are slightly different from one to the other. But the reality is, with up to 16 variants, if you could include those sort of funny passenger ones, that are coming with this vehicle. So there's going to be plenty to choose from, and you've got to pay your money and take your choice and see which one will do it for you. All in all, this could be a great vehicle if they get the dealer network right and the in-life support. So whether you're a tradesman, an electrician, a plumber, a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker, or whether you're a large fleet, maybe you're trekking across the countryside, it could do a job for you. So say hello to the Kia PV5.